Thanks for joining me for Yin Yoga. This is Thursday, September. Another month is almost gone. It's hard to believe this year, as crazy as it has been, is still flying by. So we're going to start in child's pose today. So if you like to have a blanket, a little cushioning under your knees, you can go ahead and open that out. And as always, you get to make a lot of decisions about what you do tonight. So you can keep your arms forward, or you can wrap your arms back by your legs, whatever's comfortable. But forehead onto the floor. If your arms are forward and you have trouble getting your head to the mat, you can always stack your hands and rest your head there. It might give you a little extra lift. We'll just turn our awareness to our breath. Whatever has been going on in your day or even your week, now is the time you get to turn all that off, taking some time just for you. So we will use a blanket and a block for this practice. If you have therapy balls in a little tote bag, or if you have tennis balls, they will come in handy tonight, but I'll give you some options if you don't have any balls to use. But for now, just another, maybe 45 seconds, watching the breath as you settle here into child's pose. Hips sinking closer to your heels. Relax your belly. Let your breath drop into a very natural rhythm. And with each exhalation, allow your body to soften and relax any amount more. Drop your tongue, soften your eyes and your throat. And let's gradually transition to melting heart. So if your arms are back by your legs, just go ahead and bring them forward, and we'll bring the hips above the knees, stretching your arms out far in front of you. So elbows and forehead touch the floor. If you have a block or two, you may decide you want to get a little different stretch here. So elbows could come onto a block, forehead rests on the block, and hands, elbows bent with your thumbs behind your head. That's just going to give you a little more back bend in the thoracic spine, and also a little more stretch for your shoulders. So just pay attention to how you're feeling. If you don't like melting heart pose, you can always go back to child's pose, maybe a different variation in child's pose if you're choosing to remain there. Drop back to your breath. We'll take about another minute here. Locking your hands under your shoulders, slowly lift yourself up. We're going to come onto our backs, so you can just rock off to one side. If you have some balls, we're going to use them. I like to have a little elevation under my head. It helps keep my neck in a more neutral alignment. So if you do have a blanket or even a little cushion that you want to put under your head, you can grab that. If you're using that, make sure it's just under the back of your head and not under your neck or your shoulders. So if you do have therapy balls, you're going to take them out of their little tote. And we're going to place the balls onto either side, just below the sacrum, sort of where that little dimple is. And if you don't have balls, that sounds pretty funny. You're going to take your block and take the edge of your block to that spot. So not too high up, about an inch and a half or 2 inches below your natural waistline. But if you have the therapy or tennis balls, you'll set them in place. Your low back is going to be off the mat just a little bit. And then find your most comfortable position. And we're going to take a little bit of movement here. You'll swing your hips gently from one side to the other. So even if you're using a block, you can still get the massage action of this. Rolling just left to right a few times. Relax your belly and soften your face and your throat. And don't get concerned about whether you have the balls in the right spot. You'll know when it feels good, and it might not be very comfortable. Getting a little deeper into some fascia relief here. Rolling side to side really slowly. And if you need to adjust, you can reach underneath you and reposition your balls. All right, and then we're going to settle into stillness. So your feet are on the floor, knees are bent. Once again, take a moment if you feel like you need to reposition. And as we hold this in a static shape, you might take them a little bit wider, or you might take them a tiny bit lower. So you can play around with it and see what works best for you. But when you feel pretty settled, arms by your side, palms face up, relax your shoulders, relax your neck. And coming into stillness, notice if you're clenching your glutes or engaging your abs. Try to let all that soften and relax. And that's when we get into a deeper release, when we can let our muscles go. We don't want to engage anything, just the breath. It'll come naturally in and out through the nostrils. So let's stretch just the left leg out long. Relax all the way to the tips of your left toes. Notice if your pelvis shifted a little bit. Try to bring it back to neutral so you're working to keep equal weight on each of the balls. All right, we're going to stretch the right leg out. Keep the left leg extended. Notice if your glutes start to clench. Let them melt over the balls. All right, now you're going to bend your left knee, place that foot back on the floor. Everything's soft. Good. Last breath here. And rebend both knees, 2 feet on the floor. Set the balls out from under you. Just hug the knees into the chest. Keep your sacrum on the mat. Squeeze your knees, your thighs tight in towards your belly. And then lower the feet back to the mat, outer hip distance apart. We'll do a few windshield wipers, a little bit of movement. And just go as slowly or as quickly as it feels natural or comfortable for you. Once more in each direction. If you remember which side you started in on the opposite. All right, and then let's go ahead and roll off to one side and make our way up to sit. All right, so once you come seated, let's bring the soles of the feet together in a butterfly. You can do a little flutter here. And catching your ankles or your shins or even behind your thighs if you need to bring your arms higher up to elevate your spine. And eventually let the legs come into stillness. Now, as you move into butterfly, we want to have a comfortable distance from the heels to the pelvis. So you might even like to take your feet farther away. Our goal here is not to bring the seat all the way up to the heels. So you can play around with it, and maybe that's the spot that works best for you. And if it is, by all means, take that. But if you need a little more space, that's a great way to just get a different sensation in the posture. So we're going to lift up nice and tall. Let your pelvis rock forward so you're moving a little more toward the pubic bone than the tailbone. And you can begin to fold if and when you choose. Heart's reaching toward the arches of your feet. Shoulders slide away from your ears. And we'll take about 2 minutes. Remember, we're not working to deepen this shape. As our body relaxes, we might create a little more opening that allows us to come deeper, but not pulling or pushing. Let your breath, your body weight, gravity work in unison to deepen the posture if that's where you want to go. And for the last breath or two, press the little toe side of your feet, the outer edge that's close to the mat. Press that together and see if your knees release any closer to the earth. And stay for one more breath. And we'll inhale, bring the chest all the way back up. All right, feet on the floor, hands behind you. Let's press down into the hands, arch the back, lift your heart, Lift your gaze. You don't have to drop your head back, but if it's comfortable, you can take it back a little bit. And opening up the front of the chest, broad across your collarbones. And then we'll move into a seated figure 4. So you can stretch your legs out. We'll keep the right leg extended. If you have extra tight hamstrings or you have any sensation behind your knee, you can always bring a blanket under your right leg or just roll it up under your knee. Left ankle is going to cross your right thigh just above your knee, and we'll flex the left foot. So if you do have a blanket, that gives you a nice little support for your foot. Let's get back up onto our sitting bones. Right leg is completely relaxed. And we're going to take the hands out in front of the left shin if you can touch the floor there. If not, you can have your hands just slightly resting on your left leg. Wherever you are, take a breath in, lift up a little taller, and then reach your heart towards your right ankle. So you can walk your hands out any amount, but make sure that the arms are relaxed so you're not stretching to reach your foot. And close your eyes, turning your awareness inward. Remember, you do not have to take any amount of a forward fold. If that's not comfortable for you, you can always stay upright. Let your arms rest on your left leg. That'll give you a little more resistance to deepen into that stretch. So as always, you're in charge of you. Figure out what you need and what works. Let's slowly start to walk ourselves back up. And carefully undo, send your left leg out. And if you want to shake the legs out, that's fine. So before we get settled into the second side, I will just mention, when you have a blanket or a support under the knee of your extended leg, you're derailing the fascial train. So the fascia starts below your big toe and comes all the way up and around. It goes all the way up the back body. It's all connected. But when we have a little bend here, that breaks this train from the big toe to the pelvis. So it's taking the release or the stretch from your hamstring on this leg. So if you want more stretch or release for your hamstrings and it's not uncomfortable without a support, then take the support away. If you used it on the first side, maybe you do that again here, but just for future, understand why we are doing things the way that I'm calling sometimes. So right ankle crosses your left thigh. Remember, we want to keep the right foot flexed. Get a little more forward on your pelvis, so we're taking an anterior or forward tilt. And then the left leg is going to relax. You can stay upright, or you can reach your arms out, lengthen up as you inhale, and exhale, start to fold. You have 2 minutes on this side. So just pay attention to the breath. As the thoughts come up, acknowledge them, let them go. So the one goal of yoga is to quiet the mind, to turn off the monkey mind. Yoga chitta vritti nirodha. So stilling the fluctuations of the mind. Doesn't matter what the shape looks like. Doesn't matter how deep you go, how fancy you make your shape. All that matters is, can you get in the shape and get quiet? Soften the space at the back of your heart. And clench your jaw. Relax the muscles around the eyes. We'll slowly come on back to center. You can place both feet on the floor with bent knees, hands behind you. Once again, press down into your hands, lengthen up through the spine. Breath goes under your collarbones. Head can drop if it's comfortable. If you're dropping your head back even a little bit, make sure the back of the neck is lengthening first. All right, we'll do one more shape sort of in the same theme. So we're going to move into fire logs. If you have knee issues, I would invite you to use props or either take a single leg seated figure 4. So if you know fire logs, you're going to take your right shin. I'll turn to face you. Your right shin is going to be parallel to the front edge of your mat. So as much as you can create that, your foot is going to flex. Props that can be helpful. Maybe a block over your right knee, and your left ankle is going to cross your right knee. So when we're making shapes, when the foot is flexed, it puts us into a Tadasana alignment or mountain pose alignment. That is healthy for our knees. If your foot rests in the crook of your knee, you're sickling your foot, your ankle, and it may not hurt, But in the long run, it's better to create a neutral alignment for the knee and the ankle. So if you have trouble, where did my block go? If you have trouble getting your ankle to clear your knee, take a block in front of it and put your foot there. Then you can flex that foot. We want to get up on our sitting bones. You might have to lift the pelvis and move around a bit to get neutral. And then we're just going to stay here. So it's much easier usually to be upright. Both feet will remain flexed. So we want to find that neutral alignment for both of our knees, not just the top knee. Maybe a blanket supports your left knee, thigh, shin. You can stay upright. Relax your shoulders and soften your throat and drop your tongue. Close your eyes. Now, as you settle into this shape, you may decide you have room to deepen. And if you do, we want to lift the waist up out of the hips so the low back stays long. Hands to the arches of your feet, upper arm bones back and down. And we begin to reach the heart forward, lengthening the front of the spine and the back spine. And finding the spot that works for you. Now, if you have a second block or if you're not using a block under your foot, you might take a block under your head. So when we apply a little pressure to the third eye, that helps calm the nervous system. So if you get a little frantic in this shape because it's not the most comfortable or the most accessible, let your third eye rest on something, maybe stacking your hands on a block. Anything that can help you just get quiet. Remember, if this shape doesn't work for you, let go. Don't get hung up in trying to make the shape. Do any other shape that feels similar or looks similar. Notice if you're clenched or gripped anywhere. Let go of the tension. Maybe that means backing out of the shape that you've made. You don't have to come all the way out. Sometimes just a little bit of a release, a little easing up will create that ease into your body and your breath, keeping the thoughts away, not struggling, letting go. Try for 2 more breaths. Make them count, deep and easy. When you inhale very slowly, hinge back up with a long spine. Rock back under your legs, feet on the floor, and some very small and easy windshield wipers. So as you start to release, the knees are not going close to the floor. Bring a little bit of movement. Soon enough, they'll start to open up and relax, and you can drop them a little farther. Maybe even rolling the pelvis from one side to the other. All right, we're going to set up for fire logs or double pigeon on the second side. So we'll take a little bit of time to make the shape. I want you to try to get comfortable in it. So knowing what props you used on the first side, you may use the same. The second side may feel completely different. So just taking your time to figure it out. Now your left shin comes parallel to the front edge of your mat. All right, your right leg's going to come across. And maybe your left knee is way off the floor and your right knee is way away from your left ankle. And that's okay. That's where props come in. You can prop a block up to help support your right leg. You could wedge your blanket under your left leg. So take some time to figure out what works. Remember, if your ankle does not clear your left knee, take a block in front of you, let the foot rest there. Maybe the block comes under your foot outside of your left thigh. So play around with what is happening in your body tonight. And remember, maybe pressing into the hands and lifting your seat up and moving around can help you get both sitting bones equally anchored to the earth. All right, let's get into it. So whatever props you're using, try to settle in. Remember, both feet will stay flexed throughout the time that we hold the shape. Shoulders heavy, neck long, everything from your shoulders to the top of the head. Really light, soft, airy, relaxed. Remember that the poses that we dread doing in practice are usually the ones that we need the most. So if this isn't your favorite, just take a moment and see if there's something happening in your body. Is there something opening up and letting go that you can see the benefit of why it's important to do this shape, even if you don't like it? Remember, you can always back out and do less. So if and when your body has started to relax and you choose to fold forward, remember the low back stays extended. No rounding in the lumbar spine. We reach the heart forward. If you have a block and need it, you could place it and let your forehead rest there. Especially if you're resting your forehead on a block, do try to take it far enough away from you that the spine stays long and there's no rounding through your upper back if possible. Soften your lips. Soften your toes and your fingers. Very easy, natural breaths in and out through the nostrils. Last 2 breaths on this side. When you're ready to inhale, slowly start to release the shape. Move your props aside. Once again, feet on the floor, maybe outer hip distance apart. And we'll start with some really small windshield wipers. When your hips start to release, the movement can get bigger. Maybe rocking, lifting the hip as you drop the knees to the opposite side. So getting a little stretch, a little different stretch. All right, we're going to move into a little stretch for the front of the shoulder. So you don't need any props right now. Hopefully we have time to get a little upper back release with our balls before we get to Shavasana. But for now, we're going to lie down on our belly. Let me see if I can talk you through this. So let's come on to our stomachs. And if you like a little cushioning under your hip bones, if you have bony hips, you can put your blanket out. So we're going to take the arms out into a T shape, and hopefully you'll be able to see what I'm doing if you need to look. So your arms are out, the palms are face down, and the legs are outstretched. You're going to place your, I'll do the opposite side just so you can see if you have to look. You're going to place your left hand near your face, and you're going to press down into the mat and start to roll over to your right side. So you can bend your left knee out to the side and just take a few breaths here. So we're getting a stretch across the front of the right shoulder, right? As you're here breathing and you start to settle and soften, you can put your left foot on the floor behind your right leg. So you're rolling your pelvis a little more toward the ceiling, and your right hand is still on the floor, palm face down. So I'll switch sides so you can just see my arm if you need to. So you are, once again, in control. You can keep your right leg extended and your left knee bent, or if you feel you could go a little deeper, you can roll a bit more and bend your right knee and put it on the floor as well. So every time you change, you're getting a bigger stretch across the front of your right shoulder. If you're at your edge, you're going to stay where you are. Let's just watch the breath. And if you bent both knees and it's too much, stretch your right leg out and roll a little more towards your right side. So at some point, and maybe not tonight or maybe not in this lifetime, You could take your left arm behind you and maybe find your right hand and clasp your fingers. That's just going to start to open up more across the front of your left shoulder. So you're getting the stretch all across your upper chest. If you have no idea you'll ever catch your fingers, don't even try it. Remember, it's never worth pushing, especially in yin. We don't want to aggravate or overdo anything. Let's take just about 30 more seconds on this side, then we'll roll to the other side. Try to keep your breath calm and even. That way you know you're not overdoing it. If the breath is moving freely, then you should be good where you are. Just try seconds to go. All right, when you're ready, you're going to press into your left hand, roll back towards your belly, and then let's take the arm is internally rotating rather than externally rotating. Take just a few breaths, reset. Then you have the other side to go. It's not a very long hold, so arms can come out into a T. Right. And start to roll off to the left. And if this is where you want to be here, if this is where you're getting the work you need tonight, if you want more, pressing into your right hand, you're going to roll a little bit more towards your back, right foot behind the left leg. Left leg is relaxed. And this can be plenty. You're the only person who knows how you're feeling in your body. So honor where you are. Stay here if you like. Next step would be to also bend your left knee, both feet on the floor. If you're feeling a little strain on your neck, you could always take a block under your head here. That'll bring your neck more into neutral. It's a little more of a challenge for me. Once I do. So if you try and it doesn't work, back out right away. So when your arm back for works and rather than the other, play around with that. We've got 3 seconds. Ten seconds. Your left leg's bent, stretch it out. Start to roll that stomach. Right leg goes back. Thanks on your forearms. And tonight we do want to let the shoulders come up around our ears. So you're not going to press down into your arms. You're just going to collapse here. So contrary to every other yoga class, and yet it's okay to do this. Relax your glutes, soften your legs. Slowly come on. It might feel nice to do a few tacks if you would like to. All fours, inhale, arch the back, lift the gaze, exhale, round the back, chin to chest. Two more like that. All right. And then before we get onto our backs, just as you are, we're going to turn our fingers toward the toes, press the palms and all of your fingerprints on the floor. Now, some of you may have to keep your hips high just as you are. Stretch back, get a stretch to the back of your wrist. If you want to do a little walk from the side, or just hold both hands down in stillness. Get your shoulders away from your ears. So this time we do want to move upper arm bones down the back, shoulder blades down the back. All right. And then let's turn the fingers in toward each other. Just rock the shoulders, the hips can go just a little side to side. And then go ahead and sit back and do a few one direction and then the other. We're going to move on to our back. You do have some therapy balls in a tote bag. You will use them. If you have tennis balls, you will use those. We're going to take our block on its lowest side, come onto our backs, make sure you have your balls within reach. You come onto your back, block under your sacrum, again on its lowest side. So if you have therapy balls in a tote bag, it's going to be a little easier to keep them in the right position. You're going to slide them just under the ridge of your shoulders. So the balls just help, or the tote bag helps keep the balls right on either side of your spine. If you have your shoulders, it's not hard to get them set perfect position. But you'll know when you're sort of in the right spot if you imagine giving yourself a little neck rub where your fingers come. If you were just catching your shoulders, that's where you want the ball to be, right to either side of your spine. And we're just going to soften and relax there for about a minute or so. Now, you can add on here and get a little massage action. Again, everything is optional, but if you are by your side, when you inhale, you simply raise the arms and let them fall overhead. And when you exhale, you take them by your side. You're just getting a very subtle movement of your shoulders onto the ball, so it's activating a little more massage. If you don't care to move your arms, keep them still resting by your side. We'll take one more position. So the easiest way is to press into your feet, lift your pelvis enough to come off of your, you're going to scoot or tug about 2 inches toward the back of your mat, and then just slide your block with you and replace it under your sacrum. So tennis balls or therapy balls are about 3 inches lower on your spine. So you've moved to a different spot right between your shoulder blades. This time your arms can come more out into a T shape, all face up. You can stay here with your arms still. If you're going to move, this time the action is to cross your arms over your chest, give yourself a loose bear hug. And each time you cross, you're going to bring the opposite arm on top. Move with the breath. Inhale, you open, and exhale, you cross. Again, you do not have to move your arms. Stay with the breath. And if you don't have balls or anything else that you can use under your upper back, just be here in the shape. It's all good. You're getting a nice little back and a support bridge. If you have chosen to give yourself a bear hug, make sure that you have crossed arms equal, right and left on top. And then when you're done, you can arch your back, reach around, move the balls out from under you, and then lift your pelvis and set alongside. Make sure your props are out of your way, and we're going to come into a reclined twist, and we're going to hold it for a little bit longer. So before we do that, it might feel to rock your head from side to side, release your neck, or even just do some windshield wipers. But when you're moved to our reclined twist, you'll bring your knees over your hips, arms out away from your body, and then both legs drop to the right. So one way to keep your sacrum a little more alignment, since we're going to be here for a few moments, if you have your block, you could place your block between your knees, and that helps keep your sacrum in neutral. So if you have any issues with the back, you might decide you want to try a block. It's certainly not necessary, but helpful if you like. Fix your belly. If you can keep your left shoulder blade on the floor. And palms face the ceiling. You might decide you want to look over your left shoulder. Just make sure that's comfortable on your neck if you're doing. And move through center and take it to the if you want to just roll back, readjust, spine is nice and neutral. Then bring your knees back over your hips, legs go to the left. It's on the first side, on the second side. And drop into your breath. One more full breath in the shape. And whenever you're ready to inhale, come on back to center. Set your block aside. If you'd like to hug your knees in and rock or take happy baby. A full body stretch, whatever you need. But we'll stretch the legs out a little bit wide, feet splayed open, and arms a comfortable away from your body, palms face up. Every single muscle is relaxed. Let the weight of your body melt to the earth. Breath is very slow and steady. You don't even have to think about it. It comes in and out naturally. And finally, turn off any last thoughts and take rest. I'll let you know when it's time to come out. With each exhalation, dropping a little deeper into relaxation. Begin to deepen your breath as you bring awareness back to your body on your mat. Invite any movement that feels right for you. Fingers, toes, wrists, and ankles. Rock your head side to side. Without any hurry, make your way off to one side. Curl up in the fetal position and rest there just for a few moments. Thanking yourself for getting on your mat. Noticing any changes that may have occurred while you have been practicing some self-care. When you're ready, you can make your way up to sit, lifting your spine up nice and tall, anchoring, as always, through both sitting bones. With an inhale, you might choose to circle your arms out and up overhead. When your palms touch, exhale, bring the prayer to heart center. Thank you so much for sharing your practice with me this evening. It's an honor and a privilege to share yoga with you, and I'm so happy you chose to be with me this evening. Namaste. Y'all have a nice evening. Have some nourishing food. Sleep well, and I hope I see you back soon.